Hello, anyone watching this video. Let me apologize because I am part of the finale. So if you were expecting something good, then I am sorry because everyone else's videos that I've seen are really good. Really good. They have better production. They probably wear makeup. I probably need makeup, but I don't know because I've never worn makeup. So I don't know what that. There is no place in my house that is worth a background good enough for filming or shooting videos or whatever. This is my very first social media kind of uploaded video. And I don't even know where to look. I'm distracted by my oddball face. So, I mean, the camera right there, is that it? I don't know. Anyway, though, I am trying to contribute to the Filipino Adoptee Network or fans' attempt at stepping out into a brave new world. I'm not part of the leadership, I guess, but I did talk to them. And what I gathered from them is they're trying to, during this adoption month, I don't know if it's National Adoption Month or just Filipino Adopted Month. That's crazy because that's really specific, but still cool nonetheless. But what we're trying to do here is we're trying to expand our network and community of Filipino adoptees. And from there, figure out doing other things, providing support for one another, help, guidance. I mean, anything, just friendship and like-mindedness. So that's what we're trying to do here on the fans Cuento Cuento YouTube channel. And like I said again, I'm sorry, I've never done this. Uh, everyone else's videos are really good. So if anything, for a finale, go back and watch everyone else's videos because they're really good, really inspiring. And hopefully one of us or a few of us can hit points for the rest of you to bring you in and maybe you can help us. So please, by all means. And on top of it all, I'm getting sick, so my voice is all goofy. I don't know what I'm doing. But having said that, let me just say that I guess what I would try to cover is, let me explain my background and my history, and then I'll go into the pros and cons of the perspective of being a Filipino adoptee. And that'll all maybe explain why I'm talking here in the first place. So, background, probably the most influential thing that's been in my life has been my faith. I am a Christian. And oddly enough, the other thing that really just is always on the back is comedians. Okay? I was really influenced by George Carlin. My current favorite comedian is Bill Burr, Dave Chappelle, all that. So there's a little hint of how I might flow mindset wise. But honestly, it's more like these two things, and the Christian thing should really be the thing, like, this, because it is the most important thing. But ever so often, fuck it, because the people that the comedians that do influence me, they're mostly not Christians. So, but in their laughter, for which I laughed so hard, is a positive reinforcement. So some of the points that made me laugh were things that are like, yeah, hey, they might have a point. So I know I'm not supposed to swear, and I don't think it's a good thing to swear for these videos that we're trying to do here, but just to let you know, that's my background and my fucking slip out. But I'm really not going to try to do that here. I don't think that's productive at all. So, further background, the church that I go to, I went from Catholic to Baptist to charismatic non-denominational, and my current church presents really good principles. They're really profound in their observations of our faith. We really believe in Jesus, but even if you didn't believe in that stuff, my church has been profound in just providing kind of universal principles that are very good for character, being giving, loving and helping others irrespective of faith. Really, really good deep stuff, really good mental health healing kind of stuff, which probably should go into another important part of my background, is that for the last 20 years, I've worked in mental health, social work, and counseling, primarily as a case manager because I'm still aiming to get my MSW and I am not licensed. So everything here is just casual, blah, blah, blah. So I don't think I can get sued, because no one's paying me anyway. But I've spent 20 years specifically working with um, the juvenile justice system. So all of that subpopulation includes like education, family, immigration, substance abuse, mental health, all that stuff, and that's pretty much what I've been flowing in for 20 years. And in that background, actually, it's odd because you work with really challenging families and clients that really need help, and years of education and so many trainings and so many systems that are trying to help these people, you kind of been given a, well, this is a kind of ideal, or at least something a lot of people have paid money to think that these certain systems of mental health, like specific strategies and specific systems like DBT or dialectical behavioral therapy is just like one example. MST, multi-systemic therapy, all those kinds of things in the field that I've worked in for the last 20 years. They kind of present these sort of hopeful ideas that can help people. Some of them even try to double down on the fact that they think they maybe can really cure them, or not, but you know what I mean. They really think they have a profound sense of help. And, as I've learned those things, you come to the conclusion that, well, oh, okay, this is what a healthy family is supposed to be. Because most of the systems that I've been trained in to use are to help develop clients in the juvenile justice system, not just become better individuals, but to, help foster and support their families to be as successful and empowered as possible. So when you learn all those systems, you're kind of like told, like, this is probably an ideal. And some of it's real basic, like a good ideal is to not steal people's cars, right? We can agree on that one, right? Another good ideal is probably not to shoot anybody with illegal firearms, things like that. So all these systems attempt to try and create a healthy standard, a healthy system out of the family so they can be empowered and productive to be successful, as well as avoid negative things like getting arrested, trying to maybe even dig themselves out of really rough situations. It's all an attempt to try and help people. But as I'm doing this for clients, obviously you get picked up on it on yourself, and is it applicable to my own family? So that's the part of the background that I'm sharing now that I think could be helpful. And I know there are other people part of FAN who are even more qualified specifically in this area. They're probably licensed, they probably have their MSWs, or maybe their masters in psychiatry or psychology. Oh, that'd be really cool if we had a doctor. But anyway, I'm swimming among them. And I think, honestly, when you look at abnormal psychology 101, there's always a section somewhere in the big textbook in college about adoption syndrome. So right off the rip, Filipino adoptees or even non-Filipino adopted people, they have mental health concerns that range from tragically, physically, and sexually abused kind of situations, just awful things, forms of racism that create trauma in your development as an adoptee and stuff like that. Awful range to just other things that where, like when you learn some of these systems that can be helpful to make you a better person, to refine your own mental well-being, your emotional mental well-being, and as a Christian, your spiritual well-being, maybe. But as you're learning those systems, you realize that, hey, maybe everybody could use a little mental health. And I think I'm jumping right to the point of what I was trying to get to in this whole blabbering on. I'm really sorry that we all could use a little mental health. That's what I've come to the conclusion after 20 years of doing what I've been doing, is that, a lot of people too are also like, well, we still have generations that are like, well, have older concepts that might be worth conserving, but some aren't. And new, young, energetic future. The future is creating new things, but at the same time, maybe some of those new things, yeah, nah, they're not good. But some of those things are. And I say all that to say that some people think that, oh, no, if I go see a therapist or a psychiatrist or whatever you know, if I start to do that, that's a sign of weakness. Honestly, at this day and age, I think it's important that after working in this field for 20 years, so yeah, maybe I'm shilling for, my field, my professional field, to maybe increase, make a little more money, get stimulate some job growth in this field that I've worked in. That, everyone could do it. If anything, guys, everyone should get a little counseling, meet a few therapists, meet different ones, just to confirm that they're not crazy. Like I said, comedians, Bill Burr, I think he made a good point when he said that really the world just consists of psychos and, what do you say, functioning psychos. So it's important to talk to one or two clinicians in your life for maybe just a few sessions, just to confirm that you're a functioning psycho. Okay? And adoption in and of itself can create certain factors and challenges that don't exist in people that aren't adopted. Now, can they happenstance happen? Yes. But what I'm trying to say is there's some kind of specific, at least sources of what can cause an adoptee to develop some dysfunction, some mental health issues, or tragically some more serious trauma. It's not that non-adoptees would experience that, like other growing up, but adoptees like myself and the people from FAN are experiencing it. Our source is different. Like, we have the source to say, like, when you try to start looking for solutions, you have to like look over the background, the history, and you'll be like, well, oh, on top of it all, like, a non-adoptee has A, B, and C trauma sourced from these things, but adopted people are the ones that can be like, well, on top of it all, perhaps my adoption contributed to more negative aspects of my development in mental health, my emotions and stuff like that. So my history. So maybe that's another thing to consider. And really, there's a whole bunch of systems, and everything's different. Like, everything is very much a case to case. At least that's what I believe. And some of us here, maybe some of you out there who see these videos who are Filipino adoptees, can contribute better, certainly better than me. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know how to make this video. So, but there is some need for help and for guidance, because there appears to be a lot more trauma than is out there. And it's really humanitarian science, quote unquote, psychology, sociology, counseling, all kinds of things like that. It's really more of an art than a science, because I've studied so many, and I've been trained in so many different systems that think they have a good grasp, or they're very hopeful that they can help people, like, just by sticking to their system. And a lot of it, it's like gravity. Like, it's not gravity, because gravity is a law. And so far, a lot of humanitarian stuff, sciences that are all meaning well to try and help people, we haven't gotten a good science, like a cold hard science down. Like, definitely do this, this, and this, and everything's going to be hunky dory. Because if that was the case, I would be out of a job. So it's really more of an art of trying to find what works. What system, like Bruce Lee and Jeet Kune Do and all that stuff, and MMA is all trying to find the system that works best. So, part of it too, my background. The most Filipino thing about me is I did study Filipino martial arts, so I picked up on that. I don't even know if I'll be able to get into my full history, because I'm trying to make a point and I keep skirting around it, or I can't nail it down. Like I said, I've never done this before, but I just want people, I want Filipino adoptees to get some help, or if they need help, geez, sorry. No, you know what I mean? Like, I want all of us to expand our network and become friends and or grow. So that's background for me, I guess. Regarding history, that might be better in fleshing out like what the point I'm trying to make regarding mental health and being adopted and all that stuff. Because as I explain my history, maybe, it'll align up with my background in mental health and social work regarding, you know, helping adoptees. My mother met my father um, when, oh, well, geez, on top of it all, I have reunited with my birth mother, at least my birth mother's side, and I found out I have three half sisters. So that's pretty cool. So she also helped fill in some gaps. But when I came to this country, I came when I was 8 months old. And so I didn't even speak Tagalog baby talk. Okay. And as you can tell, I have no accent. And oh, another background thing, I don't speak Tagalog. I've tried, but I got like a C in Spanish in high school. So trying to learn Tagalog it's just not working right now. But anyway, I came here when I was less than 1 year old. And when I came here, I came with a single sheet of paper typewritten with a few paragraphs explaining my background. And really, it's actually kind of neat in the drama in that my mother told me that um, my father and her were never married, and there's a huge age gap between the two of them. And this is why we're trying to be respectful. But she told me that if my father, or my grandfather, her father, is also Chinese, so I'm a quarter Chinese, I guess, how the math breaks down. I'm horrible at math. Um, but she said that if my grandfather found out she was pregnant, in the Philippines, being Catholic and everything, there is no abortion, but he would have sent her to China, being Chinese, and had me aborted. So she was afraid of that. So when I was conceived and born, I was born, I believe, in Heart of Mary Villa, which I think another one of the fan members also has an association with. But that's the orphanage I was from. And when I was born, they had to like skip her out real quick. And the nuns there were like, okay, it's part of the program and to maintain confidentiality as well as some kind of spiritual separation in dealing with the whole kind of tricky moral situation of you're a teen, a young woman pregnant and everything. They didn't call my mother by her name even. So they gave her like an alphabetical kind of situation. So she came in as the third, so that would be C. So they gave her a name starting with C and they called her Carmen. They put that on the typewritten paper when they exported me over to America and I got adopted. So my mother was always like, yeah, your mother's name's Carmen. Here's the paper. And you were named, and this is why the video says this, Pastor, your mom named you Pastor de la Cruz. And I was like, oh, cool. That's awesome. But then my birth mother, after I reconnected with her a few years ago, said that, no, I never got a chance to hold you. They had to put you in an incubator because you were a preemie. And they gave her Carmen, the name Carmen. They filed me away as, I guess I was the P baby born. So they filed my name as Pastor de la Cruz and shelved me. On top of it all, I guess for another further background thing, even though I was a preemie, I am now over 6 feet tall, which makes no sense because Filipinos are mad short, I guess. Oh well, is what it is. But yeah, I am over 6 feet. I'm trained in Filipino martial arts, and that's the only things that are really Filipino about me. Because I was born at a time before the internet. I was in college when people were like, hey, what's this MySpace thing? And when you ran a Google search, you're like, what's Google? It's like, oh, it's some type of search engine thing that ask it stuff and it could find you stuff. And this is how old I am. When I first used Google, some of my searches, they were like, we ain't got shit. Because Google hadn't built up its hugeness that now it's the number one search site of all, whatever. So yeah, that's how old I am. So growing up adopted, I never really had internet access. Now that's a great thing because you can be like, if you're adopted now as a Filipino in an American family, you could just Wikipedia or just social media anything about being Filipino. I really didn't have much clue. It was a hard resource. I was adopted by a blue collar family, so they're they were just simple people who wanted a child kind of situation. And I've had a relatively good experience. They were good people. My father died when I was in college. Um, and my mother is still alive. And, you know, there was no abuse. I'm blessed that I wasn't abused. I was blessed that my experience as an adoptee was fairly well. But like I said, um, actually, when I graduated college, I wanted to go into law enforcement, and I kept trying, jumping through all the hoops, never got in, and then at some point, I had to get a job. So my degrees background in criminal justice, um, I never became a cop or a fed or anything like that, but instead, I went into social work, working with juvenile justice population, and been there ever since. So. Um, Even though I didn't have a horrendous childhood as an adoptee, and I think some have, and like I said, it's like a sliding scale of variance. But I'm on the more, I guess, positive side. Um, my parents did tell me, my adopted parents told me, I was adopted at a very young age. They were upfront and transparent about it, and honestly, just me being me, which is, I rolled with it. I was like, I think I was 8, or I was in the back seat of the car, and I was like, Mom, Dad, babies come from people. So where did I come from? So they kind of looked at each other and were like, So I learned before I was 10, that I was adopted, and there really wasn't much of a problem. Um, yeah, no, growing up at the age I did, was there some like racial stuff? Yeah, yeah. When I was a kid, like I got all that, kung fu, all that garbage. But when I grew up, and as I got older, and by the time before I was even in high school, I was about 6 feet, and I started training in martial arts. So yeah, I do know karate, you know, kind of thing, or whatever people were asking. And it wasn't karate. It was like Kali, Eskrima, um, all the Jeet Kune Do concepts involving like kickboxing and all that stuff. Anyway, grappling, the early stages of Brazilian jiu-jitsu and all that stuff. When my parents told me I was adopted, like I said, I just rolled with it. I was like, oh, cool, I'm adopted. When's dinner? Like, that was just my reaction. And I'm sure some of the other adoptees here in Fan had different reactions, or had different things that were maybe even more positive or maybe more negative. So that's why we're trying to expand, to support each other, to find more like-minded people, or like situational people, so we can all support each other. So being adopted does come with like some clear challenges. Um, I think the biggest thing for me, and like I said, I had a positive upbringing. My adopted family did a great job. I have less, honestly, to complain about. I like America because the one time I went to the Philippines, I've only gone back once because I don't make a lot of money. It's an expensive trip, and the one time I did go back, everyone was like, "You're American? Can I go with you?" People want to come here. My sisters are like, "Could you get us in?" And I'm like, "It's a little challenging. I'm trying." But, a lot of Filipinos want to be American. And I've met a lot of Filipinos, both from my church and out in the community, and they like it here. I mean, yes, they're always like, "I miss the Philippines," but honestly, they're like, I understand it. There's far more economic opportunity, the best educational kind of situation. I understand, but honestly, I like America. I'm thankful to God that I'm American, blessed, um, to be here. I'm really thankful for that. Let me just cover one important point, that there's a resource that I found, named Richard Pluman, who wrote a bunch of books. One of them being Blueprint. That's one of his most recent books, and he was featured on a podcast by a British, I believe he's British, named Chris Williamson. And in this thing, right off the rip, he talks about, I guess Dr. Pluman has done an extensive, maybe even decades worth of data and studying regarding adopted traits and everything. Adopted, he studies like genetics and hereditary traits, nature versus nurture. And he's obviously used a lot of cases where he's compiled data from adopted families and situations to see what came out of that. And one interesting thing to help us is that it's just raw data. So it's even if it might not fit your narrative of what you think, sometimes when you look at the numbers, it's undeniable. And one of the, I guess, tragic or not, things that he found was 50% of, roughly, he said like 50% is nature. So it is your hereditary background and your and stuff like that you get from, like for adoptees, your birth parents. But the 50% that's nurture is not like directly from the fact that now that you have adopted parents, instead of getting like the traits from your birth parents, that through nurture you'll adopt the traits of your adopted family. According to, like, right off the rip, if you find Chris Williamson's Richard Pluman interview, the opening snippet to start it is a part of things to come, where he talks about like how actually that 50% nurture coming directly from the parents apparently appeared to be like 0.03. Like none of like the fact that like your adoptive parents trying to be like substitutes for the through nurture didn't work. Like it doesn't stick. In other words, if your adopted parents have ABC traits, that ABC has like a 0.03% chance of actually really sticking. Meanwhile, the 50% that you got from your birth parents, that tends to really still come through, irrespective. It's it's just a statistic. So if I could help anybody with understanding this thing as as a Filipino adoptee, that's that. Like Richard Pluman, look it up. Look the Chris Williamson interview. It's on YouTube on his channel. If that could help anybody, like just so as part of like the pathology of being an adoptee, there's some literature about that. If you look that guy up, and maybe it was just confirmation bias because I totally agreed with Pluman's findings. Like honestly, there was like, even though I said like my own experience was relatively positive and tame as far as the trauma part, but given my background in mental health and after listening to that and just whatever, my adopted family was great, but I definitely did experience what Pluman presented in his statistical findings, that a lot of their like there was always this disconnect with my family and whatever, and it's true. Like it's like anything else. Now that whenever I go to a doctor for whatever or a specialist or something like that, and they're like, "What's your family what's your family medical history?" I'm like, I don't know. Like, yeah, you can use the 23andMe thing, but or some of those DNA ancestry things, which I'm looking into. I am going to try those, but after talking with my birth mom, there were some traits that were missed. Like there were some characteristics that probably I could have used. I definitely would have appreciated. Um, but and that kind of created a minor degree of dysfunction, or just to be respectful, maybe life could have even been more positive if we were better able to address that. Not even by finding my birth mom, but just by that was always a little bit of tension. I'm sorry. That was always just a little bit of the tension from my experience as an adoptee was, there was always a little bit of that disconnect. We get along fine now. We're civil. We love each other, but that happened. My own experience was, I always felt like I couldn't connect to a degree. But like I said, when I found out I was adopted, I rolled with it. I'm just that's just my personality. Like I'm just gonna be like, okay, cool. And I tried to be as accommodating as possible, keeping everything as civil as possible. But who knows? I mean, you can't rewind time, you can't go back, but it would have been nice. Like when I finally reconnected with my birth mother, there was I found out a lot of things about me that seemed to resonate in agreement, and maybe life could have been better. I'm just saying, if this could help somebody else, or somebody else who's thinking of adopting, or somebody else who's younger than me who's a Filipino adoptee, you know, it could have helped. So, like I was saying before, and shilling for my profession to, maybe stimulate some job growth, everyone should get some counseling. So, Filipino adoptees and their parents should probably get a little counseling just to see if that's occurring, just to make sure everything's on the up and up and stable and well maintained every so often. Maybe some people need more, but it's not weakness. I honestly believe it's something positive. Again, I'm sorry. I seem to be all over the place. Again, Richard Pluman, check him out. Just for statistics regarding adoption, if you're considering adoption or if you're an adoptee for any kind of help, I mean, that's what we're trying to do. I apologize again for being all over the place. I don't know what I'm doing, but I hope one of us helped you. It'd be really cool if I did, but like I said, but I hope we can get some help. I hope we can keep growing. I'm sorry too. I also tried to rush everything because I who knows if I'll ever be on YouTube or do a social video again. Who knows this? If this is my first impression to all of you, it's probably garbage. But yeah, I hope we all can grow and help one another.